Hi you guys, welcome to the Halloween card series, card number 4. In this card, I'm going to be using the Stampin' Bellas, the Mummy, the Witch, and the Pirate. So I just stamped it with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink and just heat set it to make sure the ink is completely dry before I start coloring. Starting with the YR series of YR02, 04, and 07, I'm coloring in the pumpkins um, in the stamped image. And I'm just going from lightest to darkest, adding my shadows, and then working my way back from darkest to lightest. I die cut the white paper with a Spellbinders label die, but when I organized my Spellbinders dies, I lost the little sheet to tell me what die number that is, so I can't tell you. But I've been looking for it online and I can't find it anywhere. It's one of the older labels dies. Like I want to say it's like 8 maybe, but I'm not sure. Now I'm going in and coloring the witch's headband with V15 and V17. And then I'm gonna go in and there's like these little itty bitty accents like the frog on the witch's hat and the birds on the pirate's hat, um, and like his shirt and stuff that are so tiny that it's kind of pointless to try and even blend because it's so small that you couldn't even really tell the detail anyway. So I just went in with YG25, BG53, and then V15 for the stripes in his shirt, and then YG25 for the stripes in his shirt. His pants are colored with B32 and 23 just to make him look like a little pair of blue jeans. I thought that was super cute. I just love this stamp. It's so fun to color. It just, sometimes with the little itty bitty tiny details, it was like I had to go really slow so I didn't kind of get out the lines. Now I'm coloring the cauldron in with a series of cool grays, and I'm using cool gray 2, 3, 5, and 7, and I'm just working my way lightest to darkest. I'm kind of figuring where I want my cauldron to be the lightest and the darkest at, and then working my way back to kind of blend it all together. And now I'm going in with the V15 and 17 and coloring the little witch's dress, because I thought if her dress was black it might be a little, or like gray, it'd be a little too much gray around the cauldron, especially since I want to color the little pirate guy's jacket like a blackish gray. Now with the mummy, I wanted to keep him pretty light because traditionally mummies are like just kind of dirty, I guess, but white. So, oh, excuse me, sorry. I used C0 and C1, and then a 0, my colors blender, and kind of just like pushed the ink down on the paper and blended it all in. Now I'm just coloring the little witch's hat, just using C3, C5, and C7. Sorry, I didn't realize I was getting that out of focus. So now I'm just coloring in everything that's going to be like a gray toned or like gray to look like it's black. I saved the skin for very last. Um, no particular reason, just grab the markers closest to me, I guess. So that, and if I got any ink over like the lines or something, I can use my colorless blender to kind of push it in before I color the skin, because it's going to be the lightest part of the image anyway. And with the skin, I use E50, E51, and E00, and that's my normal skin palette when coloring. So now I'm just using C2 and C1 and C0 to kind of just give a shadow underneath them to ground the image. So this is the card base. It's a 5.5 by 5.5 square foot card with a gatefold score on each side. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of distress black soot ink around the edges of my stamped image and the trace and cut out part of the, because I use the largest nestability. So I just traced around the largest one and cut it out, and that's what my pattern paper is. The pattern paper I'm using is from Me and My Big Ideas, but it doesn't have a name on it, so I'm not sure, but I've got it at Michael's. So, and then I'm using my dripping goo punch and adding a little bit of accents to these little strips of paper with the dripping goo. Those little strips of paper each are 3 inches by 2.5 inches. And there I'm just measuring where, because that little white smaller piece is where my sentiment's going to go. These strips measure, the orange ones are 5 and like 1/4 by 3 inches, or 2.5 inches. 5 and, oh, 5.5 by 2.5. And then the pattern paper is just a 1/4 inch smaller in diameter. So now I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my sentiment and how big I want that smaller die cut from the labels Nestabilities, Spellbinders Nestabilities die. And I'm just using my VersaFine Onyx black ink to just stamp the sentiment from the Amy R. Wishful Thinking set. And it just says "You're a Scream." And then I'm going to add a little bit more of that dripping goo underneath my sentiment and then trim it off. And now I'm just putting my panels side by side so I can get them lined up evenly. And just using a little bit of my Tombow Monte Molte just to kind of get the dripping goo to lay flat, just because it was starting to like come up a little bit. Now I'm adhering the panels to my gatefold card and trying to get it as straight and even as possible. Instead of using pop dots, I'm using some dimensional tape by Scott's. It's like the foam tape, just because I wanted to be like really adhered to the card base itself. And then I also used a little bit of score tape on that because it wasn't as sticky as I'd like it to be, so I just added some extra adhesive. Sorry, you guys. My allergies are yucky today. So now I'm going on to add some of the seam binding that I made myself. And what I just tie-dyed about 100 yards of seam binding in just different colors. And this is like the lime green and dark green tie-dyed seam binding that I made. And I'm just adding it to my card. I thought it matched really well with the lime green card base and then the lime green in the card itself. So I'm just tying a bow off camera. Sorry you guys, I wasn't meaning to do that. And this is a little pumpkin die cut from a CC Designs die, and I'm just taking my Y series or my YR series of YR02, YR04, and YR07, and I'm just giving it a little depth and dimension by adding some shading and shadowing into the die cut. And I actually off camera make 3 more of these so I could put some of them because I really liked how they colored and everything, so I made 3 more to put 2 on the inside and an extra 1 on the front. And I'm just giving a little bit of shadow to the stem and to the leaf. And using my Tombow Mono Multi glue and adhering it to the front of my card. And then here I am after I'm done making the pumpkins, and I'm stamping off once and stamping onto the white paper just the same image that I used on the front with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And then I'm going to punch out another strip of that dripping glue line because I wanted to add that to the inside of my card also to kind of give it a cohesive look. And then I totally forgot to move the goo, and then I'm like, oh, there. So I'm matting it onto a 5.5 by 5.5 inch orange cardstock base, and then I'm adding the dripping glue along the line, the bottom of it. Sorry, my dog just startled me. And then I'm trimming off the excess. And then I'm going to add the pumpkins to the inside of that and onto the front. So that's it, you guys. If you have any questions or if I missed anything, don't hesitate to comment below or message me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Toodles!